Yo, Gleb,
Huh?
what do you actually do around here, man?
Gravity!
No, I'm not being funny right now, man. Like, what do you do at this company? Can you name one thing? What do you do here? Name one thing.
Gravity!
Why did I even hire you in the first place, man?
What the hell happened to Lute? So, it's been a couple of weeks now since Hazbin Hotel's Season 2 came to an end, and with it, one thing has been on my mind ever since, because, for the life of me, I cannot understand what the goal was with not only Lute as a character, but also the Exorcists as a whole. Because, if you don't know, a big factor as for why I and many other people got excited for Hazbin Hotel Season 2 was for its villains, as it seemed like we were going to get two absolute standout villains with Vox and Lute, with episodes 1 and 2 setting the stage perfectly for both to really make a name for themselves. And while one of them soared to become absolutely iconic, the other one became completely pointless to the overall season. So I gotta ask, what the hell happened? How did we go from a villain with not only a great song but so much potential to the ultimately forgettable afterfall we ended up getting? And more importantly, what can Spindlehorse do to correct their mistakes here? Because I believe that there's actually an easy solution for them to not only redeem Lute as a villain, but maybe, just maybe, make her the best villain in the entire show. But what do I mean by that? Hey guys, it's the Pink King here, and as I already mentioned, I was actually pretty hyped to see more of Lute and the other Exorcists in Season 2, because despite them being the ones who carried out the exterminations, they really didn't get much screen time in Season 1, especially Lute, who was Adam's Starscream to his Megatron. So I hope that with Season 2, now that we finally have the world established, that we could finally get a bit more exploration into them as a character, and in particular how Lute would go about getting her revenge on the hotel. And for the start at least, it did seem like we were going in that direction, with Gravity being a fantastic villain song that perfectly set up her motivation, as well as provided insight into where she is currently mentally, with episode 2 building that momentum just like it did with the V's in the prior episode. However, despite all that promise and all that build-up, it ultimately leads to just very little, with Lute being forced to become a background character for most of the season, as she's completely irrelevant. Heck, even in the finale when she's supposed to be finally getting her revenge, it's not even about her, it's about Abel, aka Adam's son, finally learning to stand up to her, in a scene that felt kinda forced. Which just makes me wonder, what was the point in setting Lute up and having that big dramatic musical number if it would ultimately amount to nothing? Why are we supposed to care about Lute being a threat to our main characters if you don't actually care to make her a threat? And what makes this even more frustrating is the fact that you could have made her work. Like, her visions of Adam and her secret love towards him was really quite an interesting idea, and could have led to a lot of interesting conflict if it was only given the proper time to grow. In fact, having more of Lute probably would have benefited this season as a whole, because it would have helped balance out Vox. Because while both are villains, Vox is more so the Jack Horner type of villain. He's evil because that's just who he is. But with Lute, she's much more of a complex character, as there was a much more personal reason for her to become a villain, as the love of her life and her leader was literally killed right before her eyes right after losing her arm to Vaggie, someone who also could have been a nice parallel to Lute this season, because they're both angels who took a piece from one another. So having Lute be a contrast to Vox while having a personal score to settle with Vaggie was probably the biggest missed opportunity when it came to Season 2. Because as it is, they really do nothing with her character, because it's quite clear the reason why. They're saving it to do something bigger with her in the later seasons. But that's still no excuse for how they handled her here, no. Especially considering just how easy of a fix it could have been. No, I'm serious, just one change would have entirely prevented all of this frustration and clunky writing from ever happening. What's that change, you ask? Well, it's quite simple. Put Gravity in the finale. Now hold on, peeps. Before we go any further, I gotta ask, Do you want to be featured in a video? Just like Dossier World, Sock World 2007, and Jake Animations? Then you need to subscribe right now, because peeps, I'm on a mission to get to 30,000 subscribers and I need your help in order to reach it. So if you guys are enjoying the content I've been making and want a chance to be featured in a video, then all you have to do is subscribe right now and go into the comments down below telling me you subscribed, and who knows, it might just be your name that's the one featured in my very next video. But with that peeps, let's get back into Lute. Now, you're gonna have to hear me out on this, but what if instead of having gravity in episode 2, we instead saved it for the very last episode? Picture this. Starting from episode 2, we see more of a reserved and scarred Lute, someone who, while is present, isn't as involved as she used to be, and throughout the events of the season, we see more and more of her having faint visions of seeing Adam, either in the crowds or just out of reach of her, to symbolize her growing anger up until the very end of the season, where after getting told off by Abel, we then see her come face to face with her Adam hallucination, and only then do we play Gravity, right before the Lilith phone call scene. Not only would you be gradually setting the groundwork for Lute to play a bigger role in the future, but you also plant the seeds for Lute to become a vengeful villain. By putting Gravity in the finale instead of the beginning, you create a natural hook for people to get excited for season 3, rather than tease them with a potential villain at the start of your season, only to not commit to it for the rest of the show. Now, I've seen some people push back against this idea, but honestly, I feel like this one simple change would have done absolute wonders to make Lute a much more interesting antagonist, if they really couldn't give her enough time for herself in season 2. But regardless of how I think they could have done it better, that's not what we got in the end, so now comes the question of how do we fix it? How do we take this frustrating angel and turn her into a compelling antagonist in future seasons? Well, it will come down to 3 key elements. Number 1, time. This will be the most important aspect, as it will determine the fate of every other category here, because depending on how much time we have to work with her, we need to make sure that you use it effectively. Like, if you have to use her in a similar amount of time as you did in season 2, then keep her ambiguous. Don't reveal your full deck right away, but slowly plant the seeds for a greater appearance to come in the future. But if you do have time to properly use her, then we need to move on to element 2, which is motivation. Really explore why she is the way she is. What was it about Adam that she loved so much? And what did it mean for her when she saw him taken away? Why does she need to get her get back on Vaggie in particular? What was their personal relationship with each other before Vaggie was damned? Give us a reason to be invested in her villainy, because unlike Vox, she actually has a lot of potential depth for her to be a really complex and emotional antagonist. And finally, key element number 3 is give enough time for her to be evil. Setup is great, but unless you follow through on it, it will remain as just potential. Give Lute enough time to actually do wicked things, like maybe go against Heaven's orders, or maybe she harms and actually even kills Abel in order to take control of the Exorcists. Make her do something that will not only be evil, but will leave an impact, because unless we are given a reason to take her seriously, we will not be invested in her as an antagonist. So, to recap, if they want to improve Lute's role as a villain, then they need to properly plan to use the time they have with her, provide a believable motivation, and allow her to actually be evil. I believe if Spindlehorse apply these 3 key elements, not only will they be able to redeem her lack of presence in season 2, but will also make her a really solid and, dare I say, a fantastic villain. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with my stances on Lute, or do you disagree? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and as well, tell me what you guys would do in order to improve Lute in later seasons. I'm interested to see what you guys would do differently to me. But with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here. and I will see you all next time.